That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. I'm Sid Part 2, and I've got just a handful of books to talk about tonight, but another big-ass trade, so I'm not going to waste too much time getting into it. You know, not too terrible tonight. I walked in the store this week, and really the only thing on my pre-order was City of Bane, number 1 for Batman, number 75. So we'll be starting with Batman 75, talking about Silver Surfer Black, number 2, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 1, Wonder Woman Come Back to Me, number 1, and Green Lantern Kyle Rayner, volume 2 for trade talk tonight. So lots of stuff, really. I decided to get a little adventurous of what I would pick up, what I wouldn't. I was initially kind of iffy on whether I wanted to read the Jimmy Olsen thing, but hey, one book week, I can do that. Alrighty, so let's talk about Batman number 75 to start things off. I normally kind of wait on this one, but it's whatever. This was really interesting to start out reading because I kind of was surprised that this was like the main continuity. Given how it begins, I was really expecting like, okay, and this is another side of Thomas Wayne's Earth that we never saw, given the beginning of this, but no, Bane has done a lot in Gotham that we just haven't been privy to, which is really interesting. And honestly, it's a bit surprising because, you know, last year with like the wedding and stuff, there was so much going on surrounding that as like a big event. And that's the least event thing that could have happened given the climax of it. Whereas City of Bane feels much more like something to structure an event around, at least, you know, like a mini event within the Bat books. And as far as I know, there's not. I mean, I don't read a lot of the other stuff, so maybe I'm just not aware of it. But, like, there's no... I've not seen any kind of advertisements of, like, figure out where City of Bane continues in this issue or whatever. So I was a bit surprised by that. Overall, though, it's a really good issue. It's got, like, just kind of a weird setup to begin with, where, like, Joker and Riddler are essentially cop partners in this new topsy-turvy Gotham, and that's kind of the setup for the whole thing, of just like, okay, here's how crazy Gotham is now that Bane's in charge, which is really refreshing because I think the problem that everyone acknowledges with Nightfall, I don't like Nightfall, but I think the problem that everyone will acknowledge with Nightfall is Bane takes control of Gotham, and then nothing. He just, yep, I'm in charge now, and nothing seems to really change. This is quite a departure. So after the ambiguous ending of the last issue, where we just had one hand crawling out of the pit, we've now got a pretty definitive answer of who crawled out of that pit, and it was Thomas Wayne Batman. Now he is the Batman of Gotham, and he is just super brutal. Meanwhile, we have Bruce trekking through the mountains to go visit an old master, which is a very Bruce Wayne thing to do. So anyway, like, you see Thomas Wayne go after Two-Face, because Two-Face hasn't fallen in line with what Bane wants, apparently. And he's got Gotham Girl helping him out, taking on Solomon Grundy and Amygdala. And she's just intensely brutal and still kind of not all there. She's talking just a ton in this fight with Amygdala, but she ends up like cutting off one of his arms with her laser eyes, which is like a whole shit moment. That was kind of, you know, you're just getting a sense of how absolutely Bane is dominating Gotham and how things have changed in that way. Tony Daniel just doing some amazing art in the issue as well. I love Tony Daniel's art on Batman so much. But yeah. So Bruce is also, like I said, traveled off to go see an old master, but he was attacked by two people who apparently worked for Magpie along the way, and he's been left out in the snow to die. And then we get, Psycho Pirate kind of makes a return, and he seems to be Bane's secret weapon. And Catwoman goes to pick Bruce up in the snow. So that's kind of the setup for Batcat from what it looks like. And then we just get, again, more chaos of what Gotham's like now under Bane's control in the middle of a conversation that Bane is having with Lex Luthor, which ties into the whole Year of the Villain thing. I like how it's tying into it because it's saying, yeah, I don't really need your help except for this stuff that doesn't affect the story at all. And Lex is like, okay. And so that's a nice way to do the tie-in without having to drag something out. Maybe that's why we're not doing a City of Bane mini-event, is because Year of the Villain is going on. But yeah, so Bane is the undisputed king of Gotham, and that's where we're going from this point, and it's intense. I don't really have much else to say. I'm just intrigued. I'm just excited. I'm just into it, It's just good. Alright, let's go ahead and go on. Talk about Silver Surfer Black, number 2. So last issue I complained that Tradd Moore's art didn't really do it for me. This issue, it worked a bit better. I guess I wasn't as shocked by it. I was able to get used to it a little bit more. And the trippiness of it did start to work for me a bit better. I was reminded of Pink Floyd's The Wall, the animation in that. That started to kind of ring some bells for me as I looked at Tradd's art here. And seeing it in that way, in that heavily stylized sense, I think just made it a lot better for me. So this issue opens up with the Surfer talking about how he found the planet of symbiotes at one point in the past and didn't understand why it was so afraid of him, why it was so harsh in trying to kill him. And then he realizes, in retrospect, it's because a future version of himself fell through a black hole and fell billions of years back to the beginning of the universe and made their god bleed. And so that's kind of interesting. What is this thing's name again? Same dirt. Knull. Knull. So Knull and the Surfer have a bit of a battle. And Knull's got kind of an interesting take, being the god of symbiotes and the god of darkness. That no matter where you go, light travels as fast as it possibly can, but wherever you get, you're always going to be greeted by darkness. Which is kind of an interesting idea in like a cosmic sense. And he says, fly, fly, fly as fast as you can, as fast as anything ever has, faster than light, and when you arrive, you'll always arrive in the dark. And he says that as he starts to entrap the Surfer in symbiote. And then we get what is honestly just a really cool image of the Silver Surfer venomized, That's one of those things I can always get into. The Venom symbiote and Venom as a character is cool and fine and all. You put the symbiote on someone else and it's just awesome. but just when it looks like the Silver Surfer has fallen and failed and is now going to be the victim of Null, a voice says, "Harold, brace yourself." Harold, not Harold. Harold, brace yourself. A massive light from the cosmos eliminates the symbiote off of the Surfer and allows him a chance to escape. Null not wanting to be... we do get some... I gotta admit, the art is kind of growing on me, because we get some really trippy, cool images of, like, the planet trying to catch the Surfer as he escapes. But Null, not wanting to be bested, summons his symbiote dragon, which is pretty cool, and goes chasing after the Surfer. And they battle in the warp space as the Surfer travels faster than light. And again, yeah, it does look... again, the art is growing on me this issue. I'm appreciating it more than I did. It's just different than I'm used to. The Surfer decides to use even more of his cosmic energy that he really doesn't have to use in order to defeat this dragon, but that's making more of his silver kind of fade away to black. And he's able to kill the dragon and escape, and then he comes across the voice that was talking to him, that saved him, and it is Ego, the living planet, and he wants to work together to defeat Null. Yeah, that's cool. This book is nice and grand and cosmic, and I'm appreciating it for that. It's not afraid to be kind of kooky, kind of crazy, kind of incomprehensible, and that's a good look on the Silver Surfer. So I did add this to my pull list. Let's hope that I keep an interest with it. Marvel and me always have that rocky history. So yeah, super enjoyable, super appreciated this one. Guess I'm going to keep reading it. Let's go ahead and go on and talk about Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, #1. This one I was on the fence with. Lois Lane, I knew I definitely was going to read the first issue, if nothing else, and that got added to my poll as well after that first issue. Jimmy Olsen, I was like, I don't know. I liked some of the stuff in that little preview issue, especially with like Dexter and the humor, but I didn't like how jump-aroundy it felt. And this issue is very jump-aroundy. There's just so much happening in these first couple pages. It just gets... It's really... It's just hard to follow. That's really all I got. It's just a very hard to follow issue. Because there's just so much going on. Like, we open and we see Jimmy's great-great-grand something, and that guy, like, dies literally the next page. And then we were like, okay, and that's, you know, the Olsen name actually has a rich history in Metropolis. Oh, yeah, like that one whose name I can never pronounce, the stuttery one. Oh, wait, yeah, that's right. And then it cuts again to, like, Jimmy Olsen in space, and I'm like, we're 4 pages in, and there's like 3 different beginnings of the story, and it's very confusing. And, like, I like the stuff from that point on quite a bit, and I feel that the drama, I feel the story kind of knows when to cut then, but not earlier. I felt very confused and kind of, you know, like it took me a while to get up to speed. And then we get into the stuff that, yeah, we're really going to be into, the stuff that I think we should have just opened with, and cut directly to the Daily Planet, and that stuff's, it's pretty good. There's moments that I like. There's a humorous-ass moment with Clark Kent that cracked me up. Sorry about that. Can't you keep this kid quiet and out of trouble just for a little bit? Gosh, Miss Linnell, I wish I could, but that might be a job only Superman could handle. Wink. That's a funny, cute little moment. And then you turn the page and he's still winking at the panel, and his boss is like, okay. Smallville. That was funny. That really did get me laughing. And then we cut to Jimmy Olsen in Gotham City. And, okay, yeah, I can see that being interesting hijinks as well. And I do like the art of Gotham here. That was pretty cool. But, excuse me. Overall, I'm just not super into it. It's got moments that I like, but overall, this just isn't doing much for me. I like some of the ideas. I like the tone. It's the pacing that feels kind of off to me. It's not easily readable. I feel like I'm just starting and stopping, and I'm not necessarily starting in places that I want to be, if that makes sense. So I just didn't quite care for it on the whole, and I don't think I'm going to read this series because of that. So there we go. All right, final issue is Wonder Woman Come Back to Me, #1. So I didn't know what this was when I picked it up in the store. This is the Walmart Wonder Woman. This is the first 2 issues of the Walmart Wonder Woman book. And so I didn't realize that until after I'd already started to check out, and I wasn't going to make them put the book back or anything. I'm not planning to read any more of this or any of the Walmart books for the time being. I've waited this long. I'll just wait till they're in trade. I totally support DC doing the Walmart exclusive books and stories. I thought that was, not something I'm super happy about, having to go to Walmart to buy something, but I understand that from a business perspective, reaching a wider audience. That all makes sense to me. It does feel a little cheap to me to then re-release the stories in single issue form when everybody knows you're going to do a trade. No one doesn't know you're going to do a trade, DC. Just come on. Just go straight from the Walmart to the trade. Everybody would be happy. Anyway. So Wonder Woman Come Back to Me is actually really fun. I got a little nervous when I saw that it was Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti? I think that's how you pronounce his name. Where are the credits at in this damn book? Okay, yeah, Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti is the writers. And not Amanda Connor on art, which is actually a bit surprising. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect here. But ultimately, I started reading this, and I thought it had a nice, cute opening with Diana and Steve Trevor on a date at the beach, and then, him saying, hey, listen, I'm going on this mission, but I'm going to be okay, and everyone knows you're not going to be okay, but it's nice of him to reassure her. And then he leaves, and then there's a nice little mini story where Etta Candy sees that there's a forest fire and some firefighters and animals are trapped, and Wonder Woman heads off to go save them. And it's a really cool moment where she gets there and the animals are so scared and they're trapped just next to the humans. And we get some great art of her showing up. I thought that was a great single page. we get some Marv showing up, and she's like, okay, I've got a plan, but we need to start moving now. And they're like, but we have injured. And she's like, I've got a plan for that. And she walks over and starts talking to the animals and convinces them that the humans aren't going to hurt them and they all need to work together. And then they walk out of the burning forest with Wonder Woman leading the way and the animals carrying the unconscious people to safety. I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was a pretty good moment. It's pretty clever. It's pretty fun. Very Wonder Woman-esque to me. And then she goes off to do more firefighting and comes back the next morning to visit the local bar because someone offered her a drink. She's like, I could definitely use it now. That was really cool. Then we get to the setup for part 2, wherein she comes back home and Etta says, Steve's gone missing. Oh, well, we better go find him. And then we see that Steve's mission didn't go as planned. He got lost with his teammates in some kind of freak storm, and then Wonder Woman and Etta Candy are looking for him, and they get lost in the same freak storm and have to eject from the invisible plane. And I really like this moment as they're falling, and Wonder Woman catches Etta. She's like, hey, Princess, can't you fly? She's like, at the moment, no. And then they plop into the water. That was pretty good. That was a bit surprising. I like that. That's a nice little use of subversion of expectations. And it's cool because they set up some pretty good genuine drama because, of course, Wonder Woman can always just punch a giant monster. She's, like, on the same level as Superman. But not necessarily because now she can't fly. And so they get in the water, and there's a giant monster coming, and it's like, hey, does your super strength work still? And she's like, we're about to find out. And luckily it does. It's a good way to build some drama, and it's a just gorgeous action page. And, you know, she's not, like, killing the beast. She's just swatting it away. That was pretty good. It's a nice, effective scene. I really like the setup and payoff there. Anyway, they get to land, and they make camp for the night, and Etta wakes up and is talking to a crab about how she's going to eat it, and the crab talks back, and she doesn't quite know what to think of that. And then Wonder Woman says, no, you haven't even seen the crazy part yet. And there's a giant tiger kaiju monster that's wearing Steve Trevor's jet as a necklace, is eating a T-Rex, and is just kind of chilling. Oh, look, he's also got a tank on his belt. It's cute. So yeah, that's the situation they're left in, and it's definitely exciting, it's definitely engaging, and I think that's all great. I'll read it in the trade. It's definitely served to tell me I should read the trade. That's all I got. I really feel like DC should have just gone straight from the Walmart specials to the trade. Kind of frustrating. Anyway. Alright, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and go on to Trade Talk now. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trade Talk. We are continuing with Green Lantern Kyle Rayner Volume 2. This will be the last printed volume of Green Lantern Kyle Rayner because DC decided to quit collecting it 2 volumes in. That's fun. In any case, I do have the DC app, so I should be able to continue reading a bunch of Green Lantern Kyle Rayner stuff. Probably, I don't know if I'll read everything because I can find like chronology and stuff online, but reading everything for this, it felt maybe a little exhausting. In any case, before I forget, I did want to mention one thing. So, Kyle moves into an apartment in New York, 106 Bleecker Street, and the spot next to his apartment is a vacant lot where people say that a lot of strange things happen. And I thought that was a pretty funny nod to Doctor Strange, since he lives at 107 Bleecker Street. That was kind of cute. Didn't notice it in the last version, noticed it here. Last volume, noticed it here, and thought that was pretty cool. Wanted to mention it. Anyway, so this is more of the stuff that, like, very few people, I guess, remember or think about with Kyle. Just like his next couple months or year of work. I feel like everyone knows, like, Kyle took over after Hal Jordan goes crazy, and then I think most people just pick up again when he's in the Justice League, and there's, like, a good section of stuff going on that that just doesn't get mentioned, that I've never seen anyone talk about. And it's kind of interesting, I don't know. So there's the alley next to his apartment, and people are getting dragged into it by monsters, which is kind of crazy. And Kyle has to figure out how to deal with that as Green Lantern, and it's just kind of cool. It turns out it's Felix Faust that had accidentally been creating the bridge between worlds, and he promises to do a favor for Kyle Rayner down the line, but who knows when or if that'll ever come up to anything. Says look for Felix Faust to appear next in Outsiders. It never comes of anything. Next issue is Kyle Saves Christmas from Dr. Polaris. Kyle goes to the Titans headquarters and is doing monitor duty for his first time, and he gets bored and decides to just leave, and happens to run into some muggers trying to mug a bell-ringing Santa. And then eventually Dr. Polaris, and he has to defeat Dr. Polaris, who's like a old Hal villain. Anyways, he goes back to the monitor room, and Donna Troy shows up with a Christmas present for him since she didn't want him to spend Christmas Eve alone. And he opens it, and it's mistletoe, and now they're in a relationship. Okay. Again, it feels a little... It's a little convenient kind of thing is how I tend to think of it. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, I guess, whatever. You can put them in a relationship. I guess if you're going to have characters on a team together, then eventually two of them are going to hook up, and it just feels kind of samey. But there does seem to be some level of natural chemistry on the page. At one point earlier on, Kyle asked Donna to help him move, and she does, and they kind of just talk and relate during that section, which is kind of nice. The thing that cracks me up is, like, she shows up in costume and then says, hey, where's your bathroom at? And she goes in and changes and comes out in sieves, and he's like, oh, I guess I just didn't expect to see you in out of costume. She's like, well, I mean, you don't have to or anything, but I'm just sitting here, I'm like, but she knows where you live. Kyle, you're dumb. So, yeah. The next is, the next volume, or the next story is from Guy Gardner Warrior, which, if you can't tell by the cover, is about the most 90s you can get of books. Guy Gardner's Warrior phase is something best forgotten. But Guy Gardner was actually an alien the whole time, and he had powers that were almost just like a Green Lantern ring, but were cooler and more extreme with, like, guns and knives. It was the 90s, it was crazy. Some agency is trying to kill Guy Gardner because he's an alien and they don't like aliens, and there's some shit with his brother, and I really do not care. The agency hires Major Force to attack Guy So really, the whole first issue is completely skippable until the last page, where Major Force shows up in Guy Gardner's childhood home, and it seems that he's fridged Guy Gardner's mother. How could he just make fridging women his gimmick? That seems overly complicated and edgy. And so Guy starts beating the shit out of Major Force. Kyle eventually shows up during the fight. It's seriously just a whole issue of fighting. Kyle shows up at some point during the fight just because he happened to see him on the Titans monitors. Which, like, using Major Force, who kind of, got away from Kyle after, horrifically scarring him. And the next time he and Kyle meet, it's just because Kyle lucked out into seeing them fight. That's so weird. So yeah, then Kyle shows up, and he and Guy work together to defeat Major Force, who ends up retreating, and Guy and Kyle go and track him. Luckily, Miss Gardner was not killed. It was just her neighbor who was house sitting. Okay, whatever. Way to kill women purely as shock value. In any case, they work together. They almost defeat Major Force, but then they have to let him get away because the other evil government agencies. I mean, just look how weird Guy Gardner looks. It's such a stupid fucking design. Yeah, and then it's another issue of just fighting. It's a lot of fighting. It's like overwhelming how much fighting. Eventually, did they end up catching Major Force in the end? Oh. Yeah, eventually they catch Major Force, and then Guy Gardner kills him, and Kyle just kind of lets it happen, which is weird, and I don't really get it. That's just a strange choice to me. Now, I guess they're just trying to show how edgy and cool Guy Gardner is compared to, even this new Green Lantern isn't as edgy and cool as Guy Gardner, and this new Green Lantern's cooler than Hal Jordan was. I'm like, okay, whatever. In any case, we're left with the big teaser that, hey, Ganthet's back in town. Meanwhile, Donna and Kyle are on a date to Marz, and they're racing there, and it's cute. Kyle loses a bet and has to be her slave for a day, and no, that doesn't mean kinky bondage sex. It's a Wonder Woman character. Why would it mean kinky bondage sex? So anyway, Kyle creates a French maid, because this has nothing to do with kinky bondage sex. And this is the shit where I'm like, alright, get over with it. It's so unnecessary to create these highly sexualized male fantasy things, and I'm like, this is just why I have to, if you don't headcanon Kyle, it's again, 19 and a day, then some of this early day shit just gets so cringy. Anyway, so while they're on their date and growing close for that to inevitably fail, Darkseid observes them and sends Kyle back to test Green Lantern. And then it's a big fight. And Calabac wins at first, and then Kyle turns the tables with the help of Donna, and, he creates Thor's hammer as a construct, which is kind of cool. And yeah, then they leave, and Kyle and Donna are triumphant. That's that story. This issue ends with the teaser of some guy hitchhiking, and it's Hal Jordan, looking extra creepy. Next we have Kyle and Donna working out, and Kyle's a bit of a couch potato. He can't keep up with Donna. He's not in shape, and he just kind of depends way too much on the ring, which is kind of an interesting setup. I like that one quite a bit, actually. They encounter some muggers, but take them out and start to, Kyle decides he's just going to fly home because he's exhausted from running in the park. And then just on his way home, he's attacked by this weird monster that's half monster, half robot. And Kyle's trying his best to fight it and beat it, and he loses. Oh, sorry. I know that's less than pleasant to listen to. Watch me wipe my nose, probably even less so, but what can you do about it? Nothing. You're on the other side of the computer. Here's, I've been skipping over a lot of the action because I do find it kind of boring to talk about. But I do want to give the credit where it's due. They did really listen to criticism, and so when Kyle's, fighting, it's not all the same stuff. He is really creating some kind of interesting stuff. This could just be a big laser gun, but it's like this weird kind of almost Power Rangers tank Zord kind of thing. And then when he needs to go attack the guy hand to hand, he kind of creates a doomsday looking construct for that. So I like that. They're definitely doing some variety with the constructs. Anyway, so Kyle loses, and he wakes up in his apartment with Ganthet there. And Ganthet set the beast after him to test him as a Green Lantern. And he's like, okay, yeah, you were wrong. You were the wrong choice. I shouldn't have given you the ring. I'd like it back now. And Kyle's like, no way, I'm Green Lantern now. The ring's mine and I'm keeping it. Actually, dun dun dun, it's mine and I want it back, says Hal Jordan. The next issue is just an argument with Hal, who is back as Parallax and wants to keep the ring and make everything right again. And it's just a retread. We just did this in issue 0. It's literally leaves just about everything in the same place. Kyle proves that he can go toe-to-toe with Hal Jordan, and he's not going to give up, even if Hal's experience makes him the winner in the end. Ganthet goes teleporting around, grabbing members of the Justice League to help fight Hal. It doesn't work. Though there's some cool stuff. I mean, Green Lantern construct fights are neat, if nothing else. In the end, though, it's 2 issues of fighting, basically. In the end, the Justice League's defeated, Kyle's defeated, but he doesn't give up, and Hal decides to let Kyle keep the ring, and he's going to go off and try to, chart his own path. 90s mullet Superman approves. And I guess this is setting up for where Hal gets bonded with the Spectre, but I don't know. Yeah. It's a sad ending for Hal Jordan, where he's alone on a planet just thinking about how good he was at being a Green Lantern. Alright, and then the rest of the book, which is not an inconsiderable amount, is The Siege of Zai-Charam, Part 1 of 5. So this is one of those multi-book stories that go from issue to issue, focusing, kind of taking over the story for different issues of the members of the Titans books. God, I don't miss those at all. I stopped on so many of those, and it's such a good decision. And, part of me is this has probably never been collected, and really for good reason, because it's just so unreadable in some ways. Which is disappointing because I really do. It's doing kind of the thing with Green Lantern, at least, that I really like. So the Titans are, for whatever reason, chosen to deal with this space anomaly, kind of like a black hole that's approaching Earth. And they go out to deal with it, but then get sucked in and are transported halfway across the universe, where they now have to deal with an alien threat that's name escapes me at the moment. Oh man, what is it? They have to deal with an alien threat that's like their whole thing is they've got a massive, inconceivably massive population of trillions, and they continue to just breed faster than anyone can deal with, and so they're just using up planets left and right, and just seeking out more and more and more. Kyle and Matrix Supergirl work pretty closely together, and that's making Donna Troy jealous. Wonder Girl really shouldn't get jealous. I'm sorry, that's weird to me. On Marz is not the best at writing women. I see the dude talk a lot on Twitter, and he seems like a cool guy, but man, he is... At least 90s Rod Marz was not the best at writing women. Anyway, so yeah, the Titans are dealing with that threat. So they go to the planet that all these like alien planets that the invaders are causing havoc to. They have a council of worlds that they go to. It's a UN for planets. And there the Titans are given a quest to get things from the other planets in this system so that they can create a weapon to stop the bad guys. And the Titans are like, okay, cool, yeah, let's do that. But then they go through all these epic quests to get all the stuff, and then they think to ask, so what you going to do with this? And the answer is, oh, we're going to create a virus that will only affect our enemies, these invaders, and eliminate their ability to breed. They're like, but that's genocide! And then there's a big fight about whether or not to use it, but before that can really be resolved, the United Planets are attacked. And they decide to launch the missiles with the virus, and the Titans start to stop them, and ultimately they come up with a plan, which is they stop all the missiles except one, and the one missile they actually return to the planet and disperse the virus through the atmosphere, since that virus only affects the race of invaders who are still in orbit. And so they tell the invaders, hey, you can't come to any of these planets anymore because now they'll all be infected with this virus, and if you get the virus, your entire race is going to die. And so all of that stuff actually kind of dig. The notion of we can't do that, it's genocide is a little hammy. It's kind of played at the wrong time. You probably should have asked that question before you went and did the stuff, but whatever. All that stuff I generally like, and to one degree or another. It's not my favorite, but I'm into it. The problem with this is everyone is writing this multi-part story with all this stuff going on, and it's clearly a bunch of different writers across all these characters' books. But they're all still trying to keep their own things going that they're working on at the time. So here's Damage number 16. And this issue starts with Damage thinking about, space stuff with this mission and how he's so much better in space because he doesn't have to worry about what he's going to break, and he doesn't care about these aliens because they're not even real people. And, okay, that's a little weird, but whatever. Then there's like a side plot with the Supergirl team and yada yada. But then there's like this whole extra thing about, meanwhile on Earth, this shady looking business government type is hiring a bounty hunter to go hunt damage. And he's off on his mission. And it's just like a page. And it's not that I understand these issues haven't been collected. I understand the writers are doing things for a reason. And it's not that I want them to edit it out necessarily, but like, wouldn't the issue have just read cleaner? Wouldn't the chapter have just read cleaner if you just removed that page? Is that really going to be a huge problem? I don't know. Maybe that's like a bridge too far or something. But I thought it was weird. And that's just through the whole story arc. It's only 5 issues, but all 5 issues read super slow because you're just cutting to crap like that left and right, and it's distracting you from the real story, and that just makes it, it just makes it not fun. Like there's this whole thing with some guy coming to the Titans headquarters and trying to take his kids away from his wife, who's like Donna Troy's assistant. And he's really violent, and he's holding a gun to the kids' heads and all this stuff. And like that cuts in 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, I'm sure that subplot is really interesting to the people reading Titans in the 90s. But just in the context of this story, it adds nothing. And it seems kind of worthless. So I don't know. It's a weird choice to leave stuff like that in. I don't know what you do. I don't know if trade editors are allowed to just take out entire pages worth of story just because they're not related to the events that are going on. But whatever. Titans save the day and go home. That's the end. And that's kind of where this volume concludes. Again, it's not bad. It's not my favorite, though. I think it's a bit weaker than the first volume. And again, I started out talking about how this is kind of the stuff that's maybe a little bit forgotten with Kyle, of just what he was doing. And, most of the issues in this are, of course, not Green Lantern issues, which is kind of fascinating. So it's just like, oh, here was Kyle popping up in this book, and this book, and this book. And I'm not against collecting that stuff, and I did find some value in reading it. But this volume, I'd say, is more skippable. The first volume, I think, works a lot better and kind of tells a complete story and like is a good way to understand the beginning of Kyle's journey and kind of see some of the stuff that gets missed when you just read, Emerald Twilight, Emerald Dawn, or New Dawn, rather. But there's still some good stuff in that. This volume, not as much. This volume, I did think was a bit weaker overall, and just kind of mired in different comic book continuity stuff. But I guess that kind of comes with the territory. Would I recommend reading it? I guess it's not the worst thing you could spend your time reading, but there's better Green Lantern stuff. There's better Green Lantern stuff with Kyle Rayner you can go read, and I guess I'd recommend that over it. But hey, pick your poison. It's not like there's a volume 3 anymore. Alright. That's going to do it for me on this episode of Comic Reviews. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had a good time watching. I will see you later on. Thanks very much. Bye.